In 2013, someone tried to poison President Barack Obama.
This story is about a doctor who's selling body parts, a karate sensei who's running for local government, and an Elvis impersonator who's going to crack the code.
This is Things I Learned Last Night. It's a comedy podcast. You're going to learn about the story, but you're going to laugh a lot along the way. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And this episode comes out on March 4th. Why did you weird laugh, dude? It's like a freaking... Yeah, this feels like a morning news show.
It is a morning news show.
That's right, Tim. This episode comes out on March 4th. I don't have a lot of shows coming up, but I also did realize on previous episodes that I said that I was going to be in Eagan, Illinois. That's because I've been watching Severance. Egan's from Severance. It was South Elgin, Illinois is where I was going to be, and I just feel kind of dumb about it, and I feel like I got to say it out loud, you know? I got to come clean and be like, hey, I'm sorry about that. You can find all the shows. By this point, there's some dates that are coming up in June that I don't know if they're announced by this point or not. So if they are, they're on my website, which is WeSellDeadPeople.com. Yeah, and you can, and if right now you're like, man, I want next week's episode, you can also go to WeSellDeadPeople.com and join us on our membership platform where you can get next week's episode right now. So I think we nailed this intro, dude. I think we nailed it. Let's get to the episode.
Okay,
hey, man.
Hey, man.
What's up?
Have you ever heard of Paul Kevin Curtis?
Paul Kevin Curtis.
Yeah.
3 different guys, 1 body. Is this one of those people with 3 heads? It's like Paul Kevin Curtis.
It's me, Paul Kevin Curtis.
No, I do know this story, and I'm very excited about this.
Paul Kevin Curtis. I feel like there's like 9 stories we have to tell here.
Yeah.
So let's start with the easy one. Paul Kevin Curtis lives in a town called Tupelo. I watched a video about this story.
Oh, I thought you were like, I watched a whole video on how to pronounce Tupelo.
No, I watched a video about this story, and I'm not exaggerating. And I know I'm going to say this, and most of our like regular listeners are going to be like, I know. But the guy in this video pronounced literally every single name wrong. Every person's name,
Paul,
every place name. Yeah, and I'm not exaggerating. Every single one he pronounced wrong.
How do you say any of these names wrong?
It got to the point where I was like, this is a bit. He's doing this on purpose. He is
what
purposely
what do you mean
saying...
he said stuff wrong?
He called it Tupelo. There's I don't want to reveal all the characters. I mean, I guess I could tell you.
No, don't worry about it. Okay.
But yeah, every character, he said the name wrong. Every place he said the name wrong. Even some of the things that are in this, like some of the items that take place in this story, he said wrong. Yeah. And I'm like, how are you? It's intentional at that point. There's probably 30 things he said wrong in this episode. And look, I know I say things wrong. I get it. I understand. I say things wrong. But I don't say every single thing.
I feel like we got a lot to get to.
Okay. You're done with me talking about things said wrong.
Yeah. I'm tired of you acknowledging that you say stuff. Like, I don't want you to be mad at other people for that.
I'm not mad at other people for that. I'm just saying it was weird.
I'm not mad at other people for that.
I'm just saying
Hey, you went to New York
It was really
weekend.
weird. Yeah, I'm a New Yorker now. That's why I talk so weird.
Yeah.
I'm a New Yorker now. I spent 3 days there. I know all about life in New York.
If you go to New York and you do the bit where you're like, hey, I'm walking here, someone like literally just jumps out of the gutters and just beats the crap out of you, dude. They hate that.
Yeah, I did see that happen to 3 tourists while I was there.
They're like, hey, I'm walking.
Yeah, they literally come out of the sewers. I didn't see a single cop.
Hey,
I didn't see a single cop the whole
here.
time I was there, except for when the cops were beating the crap out of people.
The cops did it.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those, it's like one of those Tom and Jerry cartoons where they're like really,
yeah, they're the nice
like
sticks,
cartoon
but the
dust
nice
clouds. You know,
they're
what I'm
really
saying?
wide ones. They're
Yeah.
They're really weird cartoon bats, and they're like,
yeah.
it's like, why are your nightsticks so big? That seems hard to carry and transport.
Where do you put that? Where'd you
stick it off your belt?
You know, every time it hits, it has one of the comic books. Pow!
It's like, how does this happen? Man, everything really is bigger in New York.
The Big Apple, baby.
The Big Apple.
You're a big city guy, though. I feel like you try to pretend that you're like that you're not.
I don't feel like I try to pretend I'm not. And it's very odd because I've never lived like in a city center. Like I've lived in cities, but I've been in suburbs. I've been a suburb guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like my heart longs for the city.
Nice. Speaking of cities, let's talk about Tupelo.
Okay, yeah. So, not big cities. Tupelo, if you don't know, is a famous city because Elvis Presley was born there.
Yeah.
And they ham that up. They are very proud.
They are. I wonder how long. I've said this before. I think. Have I said this on the podcast?
Yeah.
Will there be like Harry Styles impersonators when we're old?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that person is.
Because like that phase is like, I feel like the Elvis impersonator genre is enduring because of the whole Vegas thing and it being like a cultural element now. Does that make sense? Like
it's kind of like it's an American thing. It's like bald eagles and bacon, like
and Elvis impersonators. Okay, but that's what I'm saying. It's like in Branson, there's a Beatles tribute band.
Yeah,
who's going to that? But people who were alive when the Beatles were the Beatles.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? When do you decide to shut that show down?
When people stop showing up.
Yeah, but Elvis impersonators. Is it still going?
I mean, I think we're getting to the end.
That's what I'm wondering.
Close to the end.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I think it's interesting with that though, because you think back to that time.
Okay.
And at that time, there was just less of like there wasn't as many giant stars like that. Because it was so institutionalized.
Maybe.
You had just the people who were the industry decided was the big star.
But what's the demand for an impersonator? Like,
are people? So odd to me.
Because I know there's like Michael Jackson impersonators, and people go to that. Is that because they couldn't see the real one live?
No, I think it's
a nostalgia thing.
I think it's a nostalgia thing. I think it is a nostalgia thing.
Is there's got to be like some kind of psychology and stuff behind, like, because I would never go see an impersonator.
Well, it's very odd. I watched a documentary about this story, and in the documentary about this story, there are impersonators, and they show these people these elderly women, like 10 years retired elderly women, going to these concerts for the Elvis impersonators, not the real Elvis, but the Elvis impersonators, and they are like throwing themselves at this impersonator. Yeah, like it's actually Elvis.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, you know that's a fake, right? And also,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, they know that though. It's not like I think like that that's what I'm saying. They like the impersonator as like they're not confused. They're not like, that's Elvis. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm saying. I would never.
It's strange to me. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like they're not. Yeah, there's not a disconnect.
Right.
They recognize that's not the real guy. But that's what here's the thing. What I realized watching it is I want to do something so significant that 60 years after I'm gone,
there are impersonators.
Elderly people are as excited about a person who's pretending to be me as they would have been if it was actually me. Like, what a stranglehold you have to have on a society for you to die and people to pretend to be you and people to be just as excited about the fakes as they were about you. That's a stranglehold. That's power, baby.
Power, baby. Okay.
That's insane to me.
And that's what I'm saying. It's so like, but the whole town, like there's murals, there's statues of Elvis. Yeah. There's like Tupelo, Mississippi is an Elvis shrine, essentially.
Yeah. And there's dozens and dozens and dozens of impersonators who do the shows. And people show up to the shows at the VA or whatever. And
that's what I'm saying. They'll do shows freaking anywhere, dude.
Yeah, they're doing them in the middle school auditorium.
And there's enough there that's like, I can make money.
Yeah, they're making a living doing it. Yeah. Okay. Which is wild. Okay. It's wild.
I am saying, how much longer will, and this is a long tangent on Elvis impersonators, but how much longer will an Elvis impersonator, because I think this is now a thing, getting married at a chapel in Vegas by an Elvis impersonator is its own thing.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of people who do that.
That's almost completely separate from Elvis Presley.
100%.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying, is that so many of the things that you and I associate with Elvis are not even things that he did. They're just hammed up acts that impersonators did.
Yes. Yeah.
That eventually I feel like, you know, the all right from Matthew McConaughey is so far separated from what he actually does. Now we're impersonating the impersonations is what I'm saying.
Exactly. Yeah.
But how much longer do you think you'll be able to get married in Vegas by an Elvis impersonator?
I don't think that'll ever go away, honestly.
That's what I'm wondering.
Like, I think that has become like just a thing, a culture.
thing.
Yeah, and I think most of the people who do that they couldn't name an Elvis song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most of the people who see Elvis and take pictures with him on the Strip, they couldn't name a song, but they like feel compelled to do it because it's Elvis.
Have you seen the video of the strip of the Michael Jackson impersonator watching a Michael Jackson impersonator? Have you seen that?
No.
And the Michael Jackson impersonator who looks just like him. Honestly, I don't know if he got plastic surgery or if he just if he just looks like that.
Yeah. He just looks like that.
Is watching the impersonator and looking proud as if he's the real Michael. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a video you have to watch it because he's looking at it. He's like, yeah, oh, wow. Like he's like, wow, this is flattering to me.
Another fake.
That's what I'm saying. It's so what? Like there's two levels of broken people in this scenario. There's the people who go and watch the impersonator, and then there's a level of broken that you have to be
that person. Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy.
But I can understand being the impersonator more because honestly, at the end of the day. I should say this. I shouldn't make the generalization. I'd say probably half of them are like, oh, I love Elvis and I'm doing this out of passion. But half of them, it's obviously a grift.
It's like, yeah.
And so like, I think
half of them are like, I can get old ladies to love me.
Half of them are in it just for the old women.
What's up, grandmas? Oh, dude, I kill a Jello night. I'll tell you what. Dude, these old women love Jello shots, dude. They love Jello shots, man. It's crazy. It gets crazy down at the Haywood Senior Center. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And we go down there on Tuesday nights, and I do bingo as Elvis, but instead of BINGO, it's ELVIS E22. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And so and someone goes Elvis, and then I kiss him on the mouth.
Show starts at 3 p.m. That's incredible. Yeah,
yeah, dude, you're home by 7.
Yeah, it's a great gig.
Night's over. Yeah.
It's a good gig. I mean, yeah. I find it hard to believe that that'll ever happen again. Because I just don't think that there's any stars that have like because
there's a fake Taylor Swift.
Well, yeah. I think
we're spending a lot of time on this, but yeah.
I think the 19th century was an interesting time because
the 19th century, the 1800s.
Sorry, the 20th century. Sorry, the 20th century was an interesting time because the media was so centralized.
Yeah.
That I think the stars were much bigger stars, and
fair.
Now it's
more
so
islands,
decentralized. Yeah, like you have
like Joe Rogan's massive, but you and I aren't fans of Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Where I think, and obviously I wasn't alive, but I would say during Elvis's era, like he was inescapable.
Yeah, and that's what you really want to be.
I want to be inescapable.
That's power, baby. That's crazy.
He's been dead for 60 years and people still.
So Tupelo, Mississippi, people love Elvis down there.
Yeah, they love him. They love him a lot.
Speaking of Elvis impersonators.
Yeah, there was a guy by the name of Paul Kevin Curtis. He goes by KC for Kevin Curtis.
Yeah.
Because KC is better than PC, I think.
All right.
If I had to guess, I think that's why he does it. But yeah, so he was an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
Grew up being an Elvis impersonator. Kind of interesting story. He has a brother. This is a total sidebar. But he has a brother who was the all-star kid. Like he was like the captain of the football team.
Yeah.
Like he really talented. Everybody looked up to him.
Like
and he
KC, Paul Kevin Curtis, grew up in his shadow.
Yeah, totally grew up in his shadow. But then he became an Elvis impersonator. One day he was getting ready for school, brushing his hair, and he's like, oh.
And he went,
and then he was like, what?
I said, uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so he started in middle school doing the thing, and he started getting a ton of attention for it for the first time in his life.
No, he didn't. His older brother?
No.
Oh,
KC.
okay. I was gonna say, Casey started when he was younger. Yeah.
And then his brother saw that, and his brother was like, I could do that too.
I could do that too. Which
So
sucks,
his
man.
brother
That's so
also
mean.
became an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah.
And his brother and him. So
that'd be like if you became a counselor right now, right?
I could do that too, actually.
I can do that.
I can actually. I see how
easy.
proud everyone is of that.
Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah.
I'm
One day
very
you were in the
emotionally
mirror and you
available.
were just like, and you went. It's you realizing that you're good at empathy. Where you go,
I can run to the other room and I get a
or tell me about your dad. Tell me about
your
your dad. So tell me about your dad. Tell me about your dad.
I got that Freud in me.
I like my mom. I got that. Freud is crazy. I got that Freud in me. I got that Pavlov dog in me, dude. That sucks. Wow. I don't know, what time is it? We should wrap it up. Okay.
Let's call it a day. Come back for a part two, I guess.
So his older brother.
His older brother's like, oh, me too. I can do this
And
also.
like Casey is winning competitions when he's in high school, which sucks.
He's like good at it.
Dude, like that's what I'm saying. It sucks. It's only cool if you're in Tupelo, Mississippi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you're competing as Elvis as a high schooler, you're getting bullied for sure. But in Tupelo,
you're a star.
you're like getting less bullied.
Yeah. You're getting you're getting bullied by all your peers, but you're getting praised by all your peers' grandparents.
By all your peers' moms. And that was really the own, dude. That was like, dude, a bully would be like, oh, you're an Elvis impersonator? That's so lame.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, your mom didn't think so.
Yeah, your mom loves it.
Like, ew, dude.
Ew, weird. Okay.
Creeping on my mom?
So his brother starts doing it. His brother starts getting attention for it too. And then they decided to team up and do something Elvis never did, which was have a second Elvis.
What's better than one Elvis? Two Elvi. Let's do it, baby.
And this blew people's minds. They were like, oh my gosh,
whoa.
there's two Elvis?
Two Elvis.
I don't remember this ever happening because it didn't. And so they started actually touring, which was crazy. I don't know
That's
where
what I'm
you
saying.
could go.
Nah, I don't know if they toured. You know, like
They toured.
Tour? What do you mean they
toured.
toured?
They traveled the country. They went to places like Branson. They went to places like Vegas, and they would do these shows and competitions
I didn't
nationally.
think they went.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did national tours and competitions all over the place together. And so they were like this duo. They were like a power duo.
I mean, I say that. I go, yeah, I can't believe people tour. But people will tour with anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the question is what is they...
I mean,
yeah, we know they said tour.
They're touring
but
Blippi on ice right now. You know, like anything can be a tour. You know what I'm saying? Like freaking.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know how many people were coming to these shows.
Yeah.
But they went around the country doing
we went on a
their
tour.
shows. Yeah, we did it. We had a tour.
Yeah, we went on a tour.
Really good.
It was a
really,
great tour.
Well, a lot of people came out.
A lot of people showed up for that.
Yeah, people paid for it. Okay, maybe that part's a lie, but people win.
People came to that
Some people
tour.
showed up. Some people didn't know they were showing up for it. Some
Yeah.
people thought they were just getting coffee that night.
They were like, whoops.
They're like, oh, uh-oh.
There's a weird comedy show happening in the corner. That overweight fella singing songs about
We should go.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, I was trying to have a nice romantic date night, and this guy's ruining it.
I'm on a first date right now. I do think about how we were I think about this tour a lot. We were in Chicago, 2014. You and I were in college at Evangel. In 2014, I don't know, our young listeners will never understand this anymore. We didn't all consume the happenings of the world at all times, everywhere we went.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
It's really not that long ago. Were you in 2014? Were you up on the happenings? That's what I'm saying, dude. We didn't know. We didn't care. We cared, but we didn't know. We got stopped on an on the street interview. Do you remember that? In Chicago.
Oh gosh.
We did an on the street interview. They
Yeah.
asked us questions, and we literally were just like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I worry sometimes that we're in a freaking Kimmel compilation looking so stupid, being like, I don't know.
I don't know. What are you talking about?
Like,
I don't even remember what they asked us.
I don't remember what they asked. I remember it being about the issues of that time, but it would be like if someone stopped you on the street now and asked you where you were like Israel or Palestine, and you're like, oh yeah, I mean, a lot of complex issues that I for some reason know so much about.
Yeah.
But we didn't freaking live like that in 2014.
Yeah, interesting.
We were doing freaking the Harlem Shake, dude.
I'll do the Harlem Shake. Why does he say it like that?
Do the Harlem Shake. No. That's making a comeback, I hear.
Yeah, I like that one.
Anyway, that's what we're going to tour doing 60 years from now is the Harlem Shake tribute band.
And all we do is an hour of the Harlem Shake.
We go up and we do the Harlem Shake, and then we go, and then at the end of it, it's a surprise. It's like a little encore.
Yeah.
It's like it ends, and we're all like, that was super fun. And then someone goes, what does the fox say?
Oh, no.
And then we go, nim, 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 nim. You know, and we do all the hits.
Yeah. Oopa Gundam style.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh.
And we sit here and we're like, wow, music these days sucks. You know? It's like freaking.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Come on.
That was
man.
pretty bad.
Anyway.
But to be fair, we all knew that sucked. We all were well aware.
And we were like the thrift shop song or whatever. Like, I'm going to buy some tags.
Yeah. We were all well aware of how bad all that was.
That was the joke. We were in on it.
Yeah, we thought it was funny.
We were in on the joke.
We were joking around about it.
We were kidding.
That was just a joke.
Anyway, I'm saying we got stopped on that tour. So they were touring doing Double Trouble.
Yes. Doing their duo Elvis thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, all this is kind of backstory of just how damaged this kid is.
Well, I mean, yeah. They're not making a living doing it, though, is what I mean.
Yeah. And so he starts a business. He gets married. He grows up, gets married, starts a business because his wife is like, you got to get a real job.
Yeah.
You got to, and see, he's like, I do have a real job.
That's what your wife says about the podcast. Where your wife is like, hey, time to wrap this
when
up.
When are you going to do something real?
We have Patreon supporters. You know, she's just not enough.
Yeah. Support us on Patreon.
If you're listening
my
right
wife
now,
will stop bugging me.
When does this episode come out?
I don't know. I got to look at the date. I don't have it pulled up.
March 11th.
March 11th. Good guess. Let's see. It is going to be, very close. March 4th.
Oh, okay. Tim's baby's getting closer.
Yeah.
And if you don't support it on Patreon, they have to give it away. So Tim's wife said that if we don't have 200 supporters, sorry,
by May.
Tim's wife told us that if we don't have 200 supporters by the end of this month,
this is serious.
She has to get rid of that kid and just like it's gonna become the neighbor's kid.
It's the hospital's baby now.
And no, they're gonna give it to the neighbors, and then she's gonna have to watch it grow up next door every day, and then she'll just be sitting there in the morning, and she's like, "That could have been ours," but
if
you know the TILLN fans didn't care enough.
Yeah, you guys didn't care enough. And I'll tell you what, those neighbors, they are a loving, caring family who are going to do a better job than we
sucks, man. It sucks to watch this kid grow up. He's going to be able to compete in whatever Elvis competitions he wants to.
He's going to be such a good Elvis without us. Can you imagine the Elvis he'd be with us? So support us
so that Tim's kid can grow up in Tim's home.
Yeah. And be a mediocre
And
Elvis.
I feel comfortable making these jokes. Again, Bree never listens to this. Tim's parents do. They don't like that joke. They were like, we didn't like that bit at all.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe you should support us on Patreon. Terry, maybe you should sign up then, huh?
Okay, so
you see how Tim doesn't like when I talk to his mom. All right,
I'm talking to my mom.
Terry,
don't listen to him. Okay, so
we would have supported if we had the pillow pet money.
Hey, if you've been watching for a minute and you like this show, a great way to help out is by becoming a Patreon supporters. Our patrons get a ton of perks for their support. They get ad-free episodes a week early. They get a Discord with our hosts and producers. We do monthly hangouts. There's a way to get birthday messages on your birthday. There's a lot of great perks, but more than anything, you just help make sure that this show continues to happen forever. We never want to stop. We're going to keep doing this forever. If we have enough patron supporters, we can put our brains in those little vats and like have AI pretend it's us. And so like we can keep doing it long after we die. But that only happens if you support us on Patreon. So we appreciate your support. Thanks for your help. If you don't want to support, that's totally fine. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate you watching this show. So he gets a real job, and by gets a real job, he starts a cleaning business.
Sure. Which, honestly, good business.
Yeah, that's a quality business to
Facilities
be in.
Management.
Everybody needs stuff to be
Every
cleaned.
year he gives a speech to his team. He's managing facilities.
He's gotta get this place clean, okay?
Yeah.
And so he starts cleaning up, and while he's cleaning up, he gets a good offer to be the cleaner-upper at the local hospital.
Yeah.
He's the big cleaner guy at the hospital.
Which actually is a pretty big contract. It's
A huge deal.
Yeah.
Big hospital, huge deal. Honestly, arguably, potentially, life-changing opportunity.
Right.
And so he gets it, starts cleaning. He's cleaning there for a while. And he does something that's like...
Which that's kind of crazy to me that they third-party contract that, you know? Like I guess he's just waxing floors and stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably it's probably
there's
like
a different
partial.
crew that obviously cleans utensils and beds and stuff, you know? But yeah, I guess the hallways and stuff, it's a big contract.
If they can get a better deal
Yeah.
outsourcing it, yeah. And yeah, this is a fairly large hospital in the area.
Yeah.
And so he's cleaning, and he does what we probably in the business would call a career-limiting move. And so one day he is, cleaning, and he says, "I'm going to explore around some areas. I haven't seen everything."
They ask him to clean a certain area.
They asked him to clean something. It was like a party. They asked him to clean, but he did a little
I don't think that's what it was. I thought he was supposed to clean this. Okay, go ahead and tell what happened, and then I'll give my argument for why I think it was viable that he was in this area.
Yeah, so they're at a party. He was asked to clean a specific area of the hospital, and while he's cleaning, he stumbles into the morgue, and he starts digging around the morgue, and he finds, surprise, surprise, human body parts.
Right,
and
that's where they keep him at a hospital.
In the morgue.
In the morgue.
And so he gets really excited about the fact that he found a human head.
He found a human head.
Specifically a human head.
Arms. The human head was the big thing.
The human head was the exciting thing to him. And he couldn't shut up about it.
Well, okay, so here's what I think happened.
Yeah.
Right? Is he did get asked to clean this area of the room. And this is a restricted area, obviously, because there's body parts in the fridge.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which is not crazy. You're sitting here listening. You're like, why does the hospital have a head? If someone needs those eyes that are donated, they're not just in a jar. It's in a cartoon.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, also, if somebody dies, you gotta put it all in the fridge. You gotta chop them up.
That's not true, Tim. They don't chop you up if you die.
Well, I mean, if you don't fit in the fridge.
It's not a size issue, Tim. They have odd job fridges at the hospital.
They open up the cabinet and they're like, "Oh man,
that's what, dude. That's
the Tupperware's dirty."
I had to get an odd job casket. So
they opened it up. They said, "Oh, the big jar's dirty."
No, here's what I think.
We gotta
happened.
cut them into smaller pieces.
Here's what happens. He starts taking people to that room and showing them the head.
Yeah, because he's hyped about it.
He's like, I found a head, right? I found a head. And then he's like telling everybody in the hospital, he's like, hey man, I saw the craziest thing. You want to see this head?
See a head?
And so he takes them to that area.
People see it and they're scarred for life. They throw up and they're like, I wish you didn't show me that.
Well, no. Here's what I think happened. I think he was rightfully supposed to clean this area of the hospital.
Yes.
Where he saw the body parts, right? What he wasn't supposed to do is then bring everyone in the hospital into that room to see the body parts.
I think he was supposed to clean that area. I don't think he was supposed to open the fridge.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think he did something he wasn't supposed to do there, and then I think he definitely did something he wasn't supposed to do by talking about it.
No
and showing
one would have
it.
known. He wouldn't have gotten in trouble for peeking in the fridge and been like, "Whoa, there's a head in there."
Yeah. Because no one.
But he would get in trouble for being like, "Hey, you guys want to see this?"
And
then like making a field trip out of it for everyone on the second floor. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I think.
Yeah,
that's right. And then when he gets rightfully terminated, he's like, "Oh, you're terminating me because you're trying to cover this up." That's what the conspiracy brain does. Is the conspiracy brain is they're firing me because I saw a head, and you're like, "Hey, you moron! They're firing you because you came to work and every single person you saw, the first thing you said wasn't, 'Hey, happy Tuesday,' or 'Hey, happy birthday! I see you're wearing that birthday sash. This is your birthday, right?' Or 'Hey, I'm really sorry for your loss. I can see you're a family who's crying right now and holding a bouquet of flowers for a family member who clearly just passed.' It was, 'Hey, y'all want to see this head I found?
Hey, you want to see a human head?
Hey, you want to see a human head?
You want to see this
head?' You're walking around, you're walking people to a restricted area that you only had access to clean this room.
For that 1 minute.
And then now, all of a sudden, your people are tossing the head back and forth, playing catch in a room.
Playing head ball in the morgue. What even is head ball?
What even is head ball?
You made up a game that you throw someone's head around.
So yeah, you got fired.
Hey,
for
you guys
that,
want to
buddy.
play head ball?
Hey, you guys want to play some head ball?
Excuse me.
No. Not really.
It's really fun. It's kind of like basketball, but with a head.
You guys like football?
Human head. Yeah, you know that commercial with Patrick Mahomes and the State Farm guy, and it's like, oh, it's soccer, it's football. What is it? It's
the
kind of
State Farm guy's head is back there. Oh, that guy? That's Jake from State Farm.
Jake from State Farm. You have Jake's from State Farm. Okay,
Honestly,
if you find Jake from State Farm's head in a hospital morgue, you should bring everyone to see that. That's crazy.
So he loses this contract because clearly
so long
you're
story
not supposed to
short,
take everyone to see the head.
yeah, long story short, the hospital's not happy about this.
Right.
He gets cut. And you
Letter of termination.
You alluded to that. He has conspiracy brain. So he goes, oh my gosh.
They're trying to cover this up.
Yeah, they're covering up the head. Not, oh, you did something you weren't supposed to. It's you're covering up the head. And so he begins to create this elaborate story of the hospital is selling human body parts on the black market. And not just this hospital, but
because again, I already said the reason they keep the body parts is for donation. Right?
Yeah.
Or like that's the reason they would have a whole head is for
if you were an organ donor.
Right.
Organ donor.
an organ donor.
Yeah.
They're not just keeping the head to be like, that's kind of cool. You know?
Hold on
I've
to
never
this
seen
head.
one that looks like this before. And so like,
Yeah.
that's
mounted it in the morgue.
but he's running around telling not only everyone in the hospital, but everyone in this town that the hospital has body parts. Therefore, they must be selling them.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy thing you're connecting dots.
Yeah.
Right? So now he's creating this big story about how the hospital is selling body parts.
Yeah. And they're a part of this large connected black market.
What year is this again?
This was 99.
This is also perfect time for the internet.
Yes. Yeah. The internet's just now starting to pop off.
And this is, again, we've said this on the show before. Conspiracies used to be limited to your weird uncle who would say some weird crap. And then you'd be like, shut up, Uncle Dan. You know, and he'd be like, you'll see one day or whatever. And that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
But then Uncle Dan found all the other Uncle Dans on the internet.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, that's right, actually.
Yeah.
And so now they're not alone in their dumb think.
Yeah. And they're dumb think. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's, all those people, they got forums and they started talking on forums.
Yeah.
And then they got Facebook groups and they started talking on groups.
MySpace, the whole thing.
And now they have podcasts.
Yes.
And now they decide elections. So now they have their conspiracies about...
Yes, all the stuff.
Yeah, about how where all this like these body parts are being put or sold in the black market.
Yes.
So he thinks that it's this big conspiracy, all these underground sales of human body parts, and he's connecting all these crazy lines. And
He's telling anybody.
Literally every single person he talks
Tupelo's
to.
not a huge town. How much the population of Tupelo? Can you look at the population in '99 so we can get a better picture of what it was back then? Because it's a city, but it's not like a. It's not a huge city.
This is Tupelo, Mississippi, by the way. I don't know if I said Mississippi yet. So yeah, in 99, the population was between 34 and 35,000 people.
Yeah, that's not a big.
Yeah, it's a small town. It's the right size where it's like everybody knows your business.
Yeah.
And so everybody knows this guy's going around and talking about the head and the body parts. And they also know he lost his
Who was
really
the weird
big
guy
job.
in your town? Did you have a weird guy?
No, I didn't have a... my
you
town
were in a
was too big.
suburb of a metropolis. That's right. Yeah. We had some weird people in Mount Vernon. We had the lawnmower couple.
What? I've never heard of the lawnmower couple.
I've told you about the lawnmower couple. They're a couple that drives lawnmowers instead of cars. It's pretty self-explanatory, dude. They didn't have cars. They had lawnmowers. And could you guess what they did for work?
Did they mow lawns?
They mowed lawns. And
I was really hoping they did.
So, could you guess what they did for work? No, they worked at McDonald's.
No, they were doctors.
Actually, I don't think I ever actually saw them mowing a lawn.
Now that I think about it.
I maybe I just associated that. Anyway, yeah, they drove lawnmowers instead of that. We also had Mikey, who was a special needs adult who the town basically gave Mikey a job.
Yeah.
So Mikey had a gator.
The town as in like City Hall, or the town as in like the people of town said?
No, the
"Let's give
City
him
Hall.
something to do."
He had like an official,
Okay.
like he had a gator, like a gator.
Yeah, like an alligator.
Nope. Like the little
like a gate that you can.
No, like what do I even call this thing? Like a souped up golf cart. You know
I knew the whole time what you meant.
Yeah. It was closed. He had the yellow light on it and everything. And his job was to go and clean up trash, essentially.
Yeah.
And then he lived in this little, honestly, a shack. I don't know why the town didn't buy him a better house.
The town could give him shoes.
For real though, like the thing that the little shack that he lived in, I was like, all right, anyway. So the town gave him a job, and so, but he wasn't a weird guy. He was just a special needs adult who had. He was like Hollywood, honestly.
Yeah.
But you know how kids are with that. Is that kids are like, that guy's scary, even though he wasn't at all.
Yeah, he was the hash-slinging slasher.
He's the slasher. Yeah, and then we had we actually had a lot of weird people now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, I met a couple of them when I that 1 month I lived there.
That's true. You did meet some of the weirds in Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I could not tell you a single one from my hometown.
Oh, there's the witch lady that I told you about who rode her bike around and hung newspaper things in her yard.
I met her.
Yes, you did.
Because I called you. I was like, hey, I'm at.
Who is that?
Where was it? Casey's at the truck stop.
Yeah, and you were like, there's a weird lady.
Well, no, I said there's a mannequin. Why is there this weird mannequin? And then she moved.
And I was like, no, that's a person, buddy.
That's a human.
Yeah, you ran into, I forget what we called her. She rode her bike around.
She literally was just standing outside the door like this.
Dude, here's the thing. I am from I'm proud of where I came from. I love Mount Vernon. And it's really fun okay, he's going to keep going?
Are you going to tell? Keep doing your thing.
I like that I'm from Mount Vernon. I'm not ashamed of where I grew up. There's just some stuff that there's elements of it.
There's small town culture.
Yes, and there's so many things about that small town culture that I'm sad that my kids won't experience.
Yeah.
But then there's so many other things that I'm pretty glad my kids won't have to experience.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And so what KC experienced was everyone knew his business.
Everyone knows everything.
Yeah, everyone knew he got fired.
If you make too big of a wave, people are like, oh, and then people will talk to each other. They'll be like, hey, because here's the thing about conspiracy people, they will trap you in that conversation.
Yeah.
You
can't escape it.
You didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
You didn't say anything.
Yeah.
You'd be like, where are you working at? Well, here's why I got fired. I got fired because I saw a head because they're selling body parts down to the hospital. And you're like,
I actually have somewhere I need to be
actually,
right now.
I was just being nice.
Yeah. Actually, honestly, couldn't care less about whatever you're saying.
Being nice.
Yeah.
Just say, yeah, I work at McDonald's and move on.
Yeah.
Let's not do all this. But yeah, everyone knows everything. So people will warn other people essentially, being like, hey, careful what you bring up around KC.
Yeah.
Around Paul, Kevin, Curtis.
They got a group chat for the whole town. They're like, oh, Casey's at the subway right now.
It was in the newspaper. They were like, hey, don't worry.
Don't talk to Casey.
Don't talk to
He's
Casey.
reading the morning paper. He's like, hey.
He said, they're trying to cover it up.
Everybody knows.
It gets
the
around.
Paper's
it's
in
a small
on it.
town. He's telling everybody in the world.
Yeah. And they all know he lost his job.
Yeah.
And it's becoming a big issue because he's like, well, now I can't get any income, but he's like super passionate about it. Long story short, leads to a lot of problems in his marriage, leads to a lot of problems to all of his relationships.
Well, yeah, because everyone in town knows that you're married to the hospital lunatic.
Yeah.
You know?
And he starts to, I don't know what the right word is, go off the wall a little bit. Like he seems very obsessed with this, and he's very much like that Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme.
I've watched the documentary. The saddest footage in the whole documentary is his wife. Like he's filming his wife. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about, that scene?
Yeah.
And we'll get to that later, but you can literally, because he's got a lot of footage of him filming his wife. He becomes the dad who's sitting at the computer all day.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah.
And just consuming conspiracy stuff. Now, I thought about this, is that it used to be your dad would sit in the corner on the computer all day. Not our dad, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That
the conspiracy dad
would sit on his computer all day and just scrolling forums, all this stuff. And now they just moved it to their phones. And now that dad will just sit on the couch.
Just scrolling conspiracies.
And just scrolling Facebook.
Yeah.
That's now those forums.
Yeah, that's the same.
But the footage that he took of his wife, you can literally just see her disassociate, and she's just spaced out, and he's like, can you believe all this stuff? And she's just, you can see the weight of it on her face. It's really sad.
Yeah, he's losing it. Yeah. And because he gets like, it becomes kind of a pipeline for him, because that's what the starting moment, but he gets sucked into like all conspiracies.
Yes.
Like it's not just that, but that's like the top one, and that's the one he's the most passionate about.
It's also 99, 2 years before 9/11,
Yeah.
which then is
opens up the floodgates of like the conspiracy
Right.
world, really. So he actually goes and he gets a bill, like he puts a bill through to be like, yeah, we're no more selling body parts. We can't do that anymore. No more
To
black
the
market.
House of Representatives. How does a person get a bill? Draft a bill.
I think anyone does. Anyone can do it. You just write it up. You get some local reps to sponsor it, and then you're like, okay, let's do this.
Did any local reps
I don't
sponsor
think
it?
he got any local reps to sponsor it.
I think
wrote
he
his
just
bill.
drafted it up,
He wrote his bill.
sent it.
And yeah, he was trying to get it sponsored. I think he did have one guy.
But it's one of
It
those
was
things
like,
too.
yeah, we should let that happen.
He named it like U.S.
U.S.
Bill.
no more body parts. On the black
No.
market
He called it House Bill 261 or something. But it's not a. It's
it
not
wasn't
a bill.
an actual. Yeah, it wasn't
And that's
something that actually
part
happened.
of the broken brain part
Yeah.
too. Is that he just.
just
Because he doesn't
named it
understand how bills get passed or how
Yeah.
any of that works.
Yeah.
He just called it House Bill 261.
I think what happened
something
too
like
is
that.
like he went to some party or gathering, or maybe his double trouble thing was playing an event, and there was a representative there. And
That's
he started
right.
talking to that representative, and the representative told him how to do it, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean that sounds like probably a good thing to stop people from illegally selling human body parts." And he was like, "Cool, this guy signs off on it." And he was
Yeah.
like, I got his support. And that guy's like, I didn't say I
Are we talking about the same guy that they? No. Okay. So here's what, because they hired him as an Elvis impersonator,
Yeah.
and then here's the thing: is that when you bully somebody and you're not clear that you're bullying them, you know what I'm saying? Is that he went? So I heard you got fired from the hospital for some kind of body part thing. That's that representative being a jerk. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Where he's just like,
Yeah.
hey, I heard you got fired for, he's just like, you're kind of dumb, right? That's essentially what that was. And then he was like,
that's what
and
that
then,
was.
you don't think so? You don't think the representative being like, hey, I heard you got fired because you've heard about the body part selling, huh? I heard you got some crazy views about them selling body parts out of the hospital. And he was like, yeah, I do. He said, be careful with that. Be careful with that. And that solidified, and he doesn't read that as, hey, you're an idiot. He reads that as, I'm on the right page. This guy knows about it.
Yeah. I'm not talking about that guy. I'm talking about the other rep. I'm talking about the other rep that was like, oh, yeah, this sounds like a good thing. We probably should stop that. But he doesn't know the whole story.
Sure.
And he's just like, yeah, that sounds good. He's like, here's how you do it. And so he thinks he's signing off on that. But yeah, that guy, he was like, oh, he's in on it. He's funneling body parts through, and he's at the top level of the government. He's making this happen.
Sure. Tell your story then.
And so he drafts this bill, he sends it, and so he sends it off to that guy because that's his local representative who's got to sign off on it. And that guy rips it up and is like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen." Yeah. And then he starts to believe, okay, this guy's in on it, and he is a part of the conspiracy, and he doesn't want me to be a part of.
Now, why is that guy in on it? Are we talking about that guy now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me look up his name real quick. So Steve Holland was the representative. He sent this to get this bill passed.
Yeah.
And he was not having it. And then KC starts to think, oh, Steve Holland's in on it. He's part of selling these body parts. And the reason for his connection, well, is obviously he seems like pretty dismissive of the whole thing because he thinks it's ridiculous because it is pretty ridiculous. But there's a little side story. Him and his mom.
Steve Holland and his mom?
Steve Holland and his mom. They run a funeral home together.
Yeah. Which is...
It's weird. It's pretty weird. Me and my mom, we run this funeral home together.
Yeah.
It's like a bonding thing.
Yeah.
And so he's like the representative, but he's also, he's got this gig as the funeral guy. And so you can kind of see how you get there. You're like, oh, this representative shoots down my bill to not harvest body parts and sell them on the black market. And he
owns a funeral
He's got
home.
a lot of dead bodies around him. He hangs out with the dead.
And he's a mortician. Like
Yeah.
he's not, he is like the guy who does it all.
Is he the guy or does he just do it sometimes? Because I kind of got the vibe from the documentary that like he wasn't supposed to be the guy who did it.
Well,
but he's been around it enough where he's like, I can cut the guy up if I
got
need
the
to.
vibe that he that's what they did, and now he's a representative, so he's hired people. He's got a staff now, but he and his mom ran these funeral homes.
Interesting.
That's
I met
the vibe
someone
I got.
recently who owns a funeral home.
Yeah,
It's like an
are they
investment
weird?
property. No, pretty normal. But it was interesting hearing about it because it was like him and a friend. They went in together to get this funeral. I mean, it was the whole graveyard. Obviously, you have the funeral home in the graveyard. And he was like, yeah, we kind of split responsibilities. He's like, so I handle the funerals, he handles the maintenance. And so he's like, my friend goes up there and he does like all the like lawn care.
Yeah, I feel like your friend got the better end of that deal, dude.
And then I just get a call whenever someone dies. And then he's like, and so
does he do the embalming and all that?
He doesn't do all that. They like outsource all that stuff, but he has to like coordinate.
Third-party contractor and embalmer.
Yeah, he has to coordinate all of it.
That's who the weird person is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the entrepreneur. Yeah. He's got the hustle grind.
Shoot, dude. That's a great bit. A guy who's just like, yeah, I run 6 businesses. One of them I embalm people for funeral homes because they don't want to do that. Yuck,
and the other have a social media marketer.
They hate that, right? So I actually own a crib and baby store, and then I own a teen apothecary, right, for teen clothes. And then I own a wedding shop, right? Yep. And then I own. And
then I'm a divorce lawyer.
I'm a financial advisor, obviously. And I'm a divorce lawyer. Yeah. And then I also own
I sell
6 nursing homes. And then I own the funeral. So I'm a full life care kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm a life coach, if you will.
A life coach. I prefer guide.
Life guide.
I prefer the word guide.
I'll take you through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I'll bury you.
Crazy, dude.
Sharks.
Dude, psychos do this.
Can you imagine going on Shark Tank and trying to pitch your embalming business?
Dead people are gross.
Dead people are gross. We make them less.
That's why there's none of them in this room right now.
That's why we keep them away from us.
You know who's never in the decision room? Dead
guy. He's like, that's why today I brought a few.
You guys want to?
They bring out samples.
You guys want to see a dead guy?
They bring out samples from the shark. Look how gross they are. They're on platters.
You hate that.
Yeah, that sucks, doesn't it?
What if I told you that shark has been dead the whole time? You didn't even know. That's how good I am.
Yeah, Kevin hasn't made a deal in 6 seasons. A guy embalmed him 6 seasons ago for this moment.
Heck yeah, dude. Anyway, that's crazy.
So reasonable to be a little suspicious.
Sure.
That this guy might maybe somewhat be involved in selling body parts on the black market, you know? Somewhat reasonable connection there,
sure.
I guess. So
I sell dead people. Sue me.
Pretty good website.
I don't know if you should look that one up. You think it's available?
Yeah, let's find out.
ISellDeadPeople.com. So when Paul Kevin Curtis, when Casey says that he's on the dark web,
yeah,
what does that mean when people say that?
Dang it, it's taken. We can get .net.
What pops up?
It's taken. Oh, it's probably parked, right? I probably shouldn't go to this, but here we are. I'm committed. Yeah, it's just parked. Someone bought that being like, oh yeah, someone's gonna want this. I could flip that domain.
That's crazy. They sell dead people.
So Casey starts going around talking about how, this guy's connected to this. That's why he shot down my house bill. And then something happens. One day, relatively normal day. And what did I say this guy's name?
Steve Holland?
Steve Holland opens up his mail. And he's got some suspicious mail that day. Another
at his house?
I think it was at his office. I don't know if it was at his. Yeah, I don't know which office, but it was at his office. He gets some suspicious mail. Another house or another, like a congressman, gets some suspicious mail. And then, most noteworthy, President Barack Obama gets some suspicious mail.
What year is this?
This is 2013. Thank you.
I was just trying to set the stage that now we're 13 years ahead of where the story started.
So this has been going, he's obviously been doing this for years.
He's deep into the conspiracy hole. Yeah. And in 2013, Barack Obama, what was the other representative's name? Starts with a W. Or was he the senator or was he the representative?
I think it was a congressman. I think it was the congressman of the state, Benny Thompson.
He's the state rep.
Benny Thompson, the congressman.
And then Steve Holland.
Steve Holland, the local representative.
Steve Holland's mom, right?
Yeah,
all got
Steve
suspicious.
Holland's mom. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because Steve Holland's mom is a judge.
Yes. She's also a judge, which is also suspicious.
Yes, for body parts.
Yeah.
And they all get a suspicious letter.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Wanted to let you know real quick, we have an email list, and it's not like hey, we're going to send you our merch and new episodes all the time. We actually give you updates on these stories as we find out about them. So a lot of our episodes we've done a couple years ago now have updates, or the person the topic was about passed away or was caught by the police, or whatever updates we can find on episodes that we've done. We want to let you know about it so that our episodes just aren't, out there out of date. It's a really fun way to keep learning new information. And then every once in a while, we let you know about new events coming up or new episodes. And it's just a way to help us keep spreading this show. To join that email list, you can text TILLN to 66866, or there's a link in the description of this episode, or you can just go to TILLN.com. It's very easy to join this email list. It's everywhere. It's actually really hard to not join it. So...
They all get this package. Steve Holland's mom is the one who kind of sounds the alarm, and then they inspect it, and they're like, "Oh, this is interesting." They do the inspection, and then they're like, "We should inspect those other weird ones." So it goes with the chain.
Because did she open it?
I believe she opens it, and I do think she gets sick.
Yeah.
And so they investigate. They find it with obviously the president, the congressman, the senator, and her, the judge. They realize they're all connected, and these are all laced with ricin. Their letters laced with ricin, which is poison.
Yeah.
Ricin
is the white powder substance that if you open the envelope, if you get any contact with it, it's deadly.
Yeah,
like you're done.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah. It's the reason that everything that's sent through the White House or anything like that is screened.
Yeah. Yeah.
That stuff is opened by somebody other than the people who would send it.
And they have to sniff
Which
it.
suks, because there's somebody who's just like, you
alive?
I'm dead today.
Oh, bummer. That killed me. So they find this ricin, and in this ricin letter, there's a letter on it. And the letter, here's what's interesting. He has for years been posting on these forums all these conspiracies, ramblings, like you see people do when they...
He's also written a book at this point.
Oh, I forgot. He has this screenplay.
Yeah, he's writing a screenplay.
Yeah.
But he's written this book.
Yeah.
About his life and how he's taking down this ring. Maybe I should tell the story because you missed some very crucial things that happened here, right? Look up that doctor in New York who got caught, right? While I'm telling this part.
Okay.
So Casey has written a book called Missing Pieces.
Yeah.
And he's written this self-published book about all the conspiracies that he's got, the things that he's putting together. He's uncovered this big ring. He's running like what would be called Facebook groups. I forget where they were, like Facebook, MySpace, like groups, and he's doing these big video calls with people and having them share their stories about them in their area about body parts getting sold. So he's got people from Connecticut and Arizona and New Mexico, and he's in Mississippi, and he's got people all over the country reinforcing this idea that there's this big ring of body parts getting sold, right? And so they're narrowing in on one specific doctor, and I believe it was New York.
Yeah,
There's a specific doctor in New York.
Dr. Michael Mastromarino.
Yep. And they have for years been like, we think this guy is selling body parts, right? And everyone's like, come on, man, you're crazy, all this stuff. Well, what year did this happen?
In 2005, they discovered that he was pulling bones, tissue, and other organs from deceased individuals.
2005, Mastromarino.
Nailed it.
Whatever, that doctor in New York is actually caught doing the thing that at that point, KC is only 6 years into believing, right? So this is almost like we did an episode about Alex Jones a couple years ago. And in that episode, we talked about how Alex Jones uncovered an actual conspiracy when he was in high school. And this is what I think happened, is that reinforced that part of his brain. That for KC, he was like, oh, this is real. I'm not crazy. And it's one of those things where one element of this massive story you've told yourself is true. Therefore, you believe the entire story is true because you've reinforced with this one element. But that's not enough to build that big of a story arc.
Yeah.
So he's been doing this. Also, every time he tells these stories, it grows grander and grander and grander. It grows from, I saw one head in the refrigerator, to I saw refrigerators full of heads. I saw, body parts with labels on them, all this stuff. It grows to like where he's changing his memory to, instead of, I just saw one head in the hospital, now it's I saw 20 heads in the hospital. Yeah. He's doing like street evangelism. Yep. He's having small groups at his house, and he's having people share their stories of their conspiracies. Mm-hmm. And it really is like, we grew up in Christian environments. When he was showing the footage, when they were showing the footage of their like small group at their house, that felt so churchy.
Yep.
So this has been 10 years of, now 13 years of this is real, this is happening, and all these people are covering it up.
Yeah.
Also in that timeline, he gets divorced, right? And then his wife is working for his brother at his brother's insurance company, which also you have to look up his brother, because his brother advertises his insurance salesman stuff as the Elvis impersonator.
Yeah,
so it's like he's like, hey, come on in.
Which is the thing he stole from his little brother.
Right. So his wife starts working for his brother. They are a little too close.
A little weird.
Little too close. They probably touch faces sometimes. And that really bothers KC a lot. So there's so many external things. At this point, he's isolated himself from his kids who are now growing up. Yeah. And he's divorced. Yeah. There's a footage that he takes. He's got the camera pointed at his wife where he says, do you think my brother's more handsome than me? Yeah. And you can see her face she's somewhere else. And she's just, no. And it's so sad that he's letting this.
He is, though.
But yeah, he's better looking. He's got more money. He's taken her on all these business trips. Yeah, he's nice,
and he's not insane.
He's not a crazy person.
Doesn't think so.
What I'm saying is that in '99, he sees this thing in the hospital. He gets fired for it. His conspiracy brain kind of triggers a little bit. He does all this stuff. 2005, it's reinforced because one element of this massive story turns out to be true. Yeah. So then he doubles down on it, triples down on it, quadruples down on it, so much that he's exiled himself from anybody in his real, actual life. Yeah. 2013, these suspicious letters show up, and they say this.
Yeah, they say to see a wrong and not expose it is to become a silent partner in this continuance. And then it's signed off. It says, I am Casey, and I approve this message. And it's laced with ricin.
Yeah.
And so
but there's also a mention of missing pieces in it. In the letter, right? Yeah.
I mean, I might just be seeing just there's
a letter. Read the one that was sent to Obama. So while you're looking that up, when I am like, so I've been reading a lot about cults or, just conspiracy minded people and how they end up here. And a lot of people write this stuff off like it's just harmless. Like he's got some crazy ideas, whatever. Like it's the same thing of like, I would never cut someone out because they believe this weird stuff. But there is such the isolation is part of it.
Yes.
Like it's unavoidable. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh man, like you have to confront this. Yeah. If this is happening with your family member, you have to confront it. Otherwise it will always lead to the isolation of them.
It's like a cancer. Like it just grows and it gets worse and worse and worse the more you let it grow. I've been thinking about this recently. Well, we can save this conversation.
Yeah, we can save this for the after fiddle. Yeah. Which is available to our Patreon supporters, which you're now part of to save Tim's family.
So the earlier
part, Terry?
The first part of this letter.
Talking to your mom.
The first part of this letter says, no one wanted to listen to me before. There are still missing pieces. Yeah. Maybe I have your attention now, even if that means someone must die. This must stop. To see a wrong and not expose it is to become a silent partner in its continuance. I am Casey, and I approve this.
Yeah, you read the least dramatic part of the letter, dude. To expose the truth, even if someone must die. And then you were like, I don't know what else the letter says. Yeah, part. He says, I'm willing to sacrifice somebody. There's still missing pieces. Yeah. I am Casey, and I approve this message.
Yeah. And so Obviously, the FBI is not excited about this.
Right.
And they're like, we need to figure out who does this. They do some digging, and they find that Casey is on all these forums, on Facebook, in his Facebook groups, constantly signing off from everything, saying, I am Casey and I approve this message.
Yep.
And then also having, like you said, the screenplay book thing called Missing Pieces. And so they think this is enough circumstantial evidence to bring him in and question him. And so they bring him in, they question him. Obviously, they don't get a lot out of these questions, but they book him and they hold him and they begin a trial as if he is the guy who did this, because he has this grand story. It's the people who he has beef with that got targeted with this. He's got this big conspiracy. He's very outspoken with it, and then obviously a lot.
And he mentions each of these people who are targeted with the ricin. Like he sent these letters.
Yes, and the letters are postmarked from an area close to where he lives, and so there's just a lot of things that say, okay, they point towards he's probably the guy who does it. He mentions his book.
He says, "I am Casey, and I approve this message."
Yes, yes. And so they're doing this whole trial. He's booked. He's held for a couple of weeks. They're investigating him the whole time.
And the judge of his trial.
Oh, who was the judge?
The judge of the trial ended up being Steve Holland's mom.
Yeah, the person selling the body parts.
Right?
I forgot about that. You might be right. I don't know.
Was she not the judge of that trial? It may have been a different trial. Did he go to trial for something else? Because she was his judge at one point.
I don't remember.
And then he chose to represent himself because he's
dumb.
dumb.
He's dumb. Yeah,
But
I don't
anyway,
know. I don't know, honestly.
So he's arrested for sending the ricin letters.
Yeah, he's arrested for sending the ricin letters, and
this is all over the news. This was the main
huge
story.
News. I mean, I remember this happening.
the news happened. Yeah,
being like, oh yeah, this guy's trying
Obama got a
Obama.
ricin letter.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's where, this is what the representative said in the documentary too, was had he just sent it to his local representative, it would not have been the massive story that it is.
Yeah, yeah.
But he sent it to the president of the United States. Now it's the biggest story in the country.
Yeah, yeah. And so,
which that's news for you, just so you guys know. Remember, you can poison your locals, but you can't poison the feds.
So the FBI's got him in their interviews.
Yeah.
They're asking him the questions. They got the light on him. The whole thing. You know how that goes.
They search his home.
Yeah, they're doing the whole night because they really genuinely
when they came and got him, they kicked down his door.
Yeah, it was a raid.
Yeah.
Like it was an FBI raid, and obviously small town, big news.
Yeah.
FBI rolls into town. Everybody's talking about that for years.
Yeah.
So he gets booked. He's in questioning, and in the questioning, he doesn't have a lot of answers for what's going on. But at one point in the questioning process, he starts bringing up a name of another character that we haven't met yet, a guy by the name of Everett Dutschke. And Everett Dutschke, a little bit about him, former military guy, owns like a local karate studio and is like the karate teacher.
Yeah. The karate teacher?
The karate teacher.
Yeah.
I know karate. He's the karate teacher. And they had an interesting relationship because at one point...
What do they want you to call him?
Sensei.
Yeah.
He's the karate sensei.
Yeah.
And so at one point they had like a little...
So I said, what they want you to call? I'm not calling you that.
That's what they want you to call him.
Yeah. Actually, I'm a sensei. No, you're not.
They had like a little bit of a budding friendship for a second because Dutschke heard him talk about the body parts
and was like,
yeah, I buy that.
Yeah.
And so like he like supported the theory, and they kind of like, I don't want to say spiraled together because I don't know if I would go that far, but they kind of like,
fanned each other's flames.
Yeah, they did the conspiracy thing together for a little bit. And he was like, yeah, I believe that. And then he's like, I know some other conspiracy theories. And he's like, oh, you tell me yours. And so they were conspiracy buddies, right? Well,
and Dutschke had run like a newsletter or something that for years Casey had been sending his stuff to Dutschke, trying to get him to because Dutschke had long-term goals of becoming a politician.
Yes, yeah.
And so Dutschke's been around all these politicians and trying to work his way into, was it the Republican Party at that point? Like he's trying to, through the 2000s, just at all the different events, trying to, work his way into that circle so he could eventually run for office.
Yeah.
And that was his big thing about trying to start a karate studio, was that Dusky starts a karate studio in this town to kind of make roots in this town.
So everyone in this town
that he could become the representative, which is a crazy thing to do, to move to a new town and be like, well, I can't just run for representative here. I just moved here.
Yeah.
So I got to get to know everybody. The best way to do that is to teach them all karate.
It's like a missionary.
Yes. That's what I'm
trying
saying.
to get power here. Power.
The conspiracy theorists really are operating at a discipleship model that works better than the church model sometimes. It's crazy. It's alarming.
Yeah. Because they're insidious ideas and they just latch onto people. So he
moves into town. He goes, you guys want to see a human head? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, you can't start with that. He moves into town. He's like, you guys want to learn how to kick better? You're pretty bad at it.
I'm a sensei.
I'm going to teach you how to kick. And everyone's like, cool. I'd like to know how to kick better.
Yeah, so he has aspirations to do something bigger. So he started his karate studio.
And he is allegedly a very, very intelligent guy. He's a member of Mensa. He's got a background in some sort of like...
You and I need to take the IQ test.
We do need to do the IQ test. But he's got some sort of like background in like paramilitary, like secret ops sort of stuff. It's like a little foggy, but allegedly he's done some crazy things.
Yeah. And by all accounts, very intelligent guy.
Very intelligent guy. Well, him and Casey kind of have this friendship, but then they start to get a falling out, and it kind of revolves around this thing where Casey starts to annoy Everett Dutschke, and then it starts to turn into, he doesn't just annoy him, like he drives him nuts, specifically because Casey starts saying he's also in Mensa, and Dutschke's like, no, you're not.
Well, okay, let's broad scope here. This is really quick telling of it. Casey's now ex-wife, who already has maybe kissed his brother, has a soft spot for guys who are balding.
Yeah.
And Everett Dutschke doesn't got a lot of hair.
Yeah.
And so Casey's ex-wife has a big old crush on Everett Dutschke.
Yeah.
That drives Casey crazy.
Yeah.
So Casey starts, this is a weird broken brain thing to do.
Yeah, he starts like pushing his buttons.
No, he starts he starts like all of Dusky's hobbies, he starts making his hobbies. So Dusky does karate, so all of a sudden, KC is posting videos of him on Facebook in his living room doing karate. Then it's like, you don't do karate. And he's like, yeah, I do. I do karate now. And it's him doing karate. It's the same thing that like his older brother did to him, where his older brother saw that Casey really enjoyed doing Elvis, so his older brother did Elvis and then did it better. Yeah. I think Casey thought he could do that to Everett Dutschke, where he was like, oh, this guy does karate, I do karate. Yeah. This guy does this, and this, I do this, and this.
Yeah.
Right? But the thing that drove Everett nuts was when... Because Everett's big thing, he tells everybody that he's a member of Mensa, which is, if you don't know, it's a high IQ group. You have to qualify. You have to go take a test in person and qualify to be in it. Right?
Yeah, and if you're in Mensa, you have to tell everyone about it.
That is the rules. It's like it's CrossFit for people who aren't. It's the other side of CrossFit.
It's the other.
The IQ range is Mensa on this side, CrossFit on this side. You know what I'm saying?
You got CrossFit, and then you got CrossBrain.
I'm calling CrossFit people dumb. You guys get it, right?
So you got CrossFit, CrossThink.
CrossFit, and then, Anyway,
and then the normals.
I was trying to call the CrossFitters dumb. But anyway, so the thing that drives him up the wall is when Casey's finally like, you know what? I'm going to win this battle. I'm going to win this war that we're having.
Yeah.
So he photoshops a Mensa certificate. This is how petty and weird they are, is that him posting on, this is all on Facebook.
It's just on Facebook, yeah.
Is that him posting this Mensa certificate is what flips Dusky to send him messages and emails that are like, I'm giving you 2 days notice to delete that because you are not a member of Mensa, and I take this very seriously.
Yeah.
They're having it flipped into this feud.
Yeah.
That they're a very public feud.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the whole town is kind of like, these two guys hate each other for some reason.
Yeah. And Dutschke is like, I don't know what you call it, but like
a narcissist.
Like a troop leader for Mensa. And so
I don't even think he's actually in Mensa. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he claims he's a troop leader.
This guy's a narcissist.
But he sues him for faking the fact that he was in Mensa, which is an insane thing to do.
Sure.
And so they've got a lot of beef. And so when KC starts saying, "Oh, it was
to
probably
the FBI,"
Dutschke. Yeah.
It was Dusky.
Yeah, and so they start looking into Dutchkey, and they're like, "Oh, this is a guy that this guy's got a problem with."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, he's framing him." But in the FBI, they're like, "Well, we got to chase down this lead and figure out what's going on there." So they start chasing
because as they're talking to KC, the FBI asks KC, "Did you make the ricin?" And KC goes, "I don't like Chinese food."
he's like, "Yeah, I don't even
That's a
eat
legitimate
rice.
response. He said, "I don't eat rice."
Yeah.
And they were like,
the FBI starts to wonder,
"What?"
is this guy smart enough to do this?
And that's a level that you've like, you know what I'm saying? You gotta hope that if you get arrested for a crime, that you're dumb enough that the FBI goes, "There's no way this person could have pulled this off."
This guy's too dumb to do this. There's
already like those are the holes where it's like there's a lot of things here, but now this guy seems kind of dumb, and there's no evidence in Casey's house that he made ricin.
Yeah, and so if he did, he's either has another location or he's very, very, very good at what he's doing at keeping it clean.
And the thing the FBI knows about ricin is that to make ricin, you have to have a coffee grinder.
Yeah.
So now they're looking through Casey's trash.
Yeah.
And they're looking through purchase history, and they're trying to find, did he buy it? Because you got to grind all this stuff up, and typically they use a coffee grinder.
Yeah.
Like a store-bought coffee grinder.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for this coffee grinder.
Yes. And they can't find it.
They can't find it.
They can't find it.
But at the same time, they're tailing Dusky.
Yeah, they're like, well, but the dumb guy, it doesn't seem like he did it. Maybe we should see if the dumb guy's other dumb guy.
The dumb guy is still feuding with this other dumb guy very publicly during dumb guy's trial for sending ricin to the president.
Yeah,
that's
the
weird.
Reporters are calling him in prison, and he's like, "Hey, can you post on my Facebook page?
Can you post and say? Can you just put Dusky's an idiot?
Can you say Dutchkey's
LOL?
mom? Boo."
But anyway,
So they're like, well, let's chase this lead down. So they start exploring. So they go to Dutchkey's house. They check around Dutchkey's house. They're like, hey, we're here to look at your house.
And all this time that they do that, Dusky's talking to reporters.
Dutchkey is so
the FBI
public.
decides to search Dusky's house.
Yeah, Dutchkey is like calling reporters and saying, I want to talk about this guy.
Yeah, and he's
like, showing up to conferences in public.
It.
Yeah, very, very public.
Because he's such an image control kind of guy.
Yes. So they come to his house. They search his house. They don't find anything at his house.
Yeah.
But then someone during the search is like, oh, but he's the sensei. And they're like, what?
No, he teaches the karate studio.
And they're like, why didn't you say that? Why did you say, what did you say, sensei? Mensa? He's the Mensa?
The sensei.
He's the sensei.
So they search the dumpster at the karate studio. And what do they find?
They find the grinder. They find materials that look like they were were contaminated.
They don't find the grinder. They find the box of the grinder.
Okay, they find the box of the grinder, and they find the materials that the ricin was in.
Sorry, I'm trying to tell the story.
They find materials that are like contaminated with ricin, and then the materials that you use to make ricin.
Yeah.
And so they book him, and they do a full-scale investigation, end up realizing it was Everett Dutchkey. And what he was doing is he wrote this letter to frame Casey.
Yeah.
Because he had such a beef
also,
with Casey.
The whole reason that Casey signs his posts, we forgot that part. Casey signs all of his posts, I am Casey and I approve this message. Yeah. The whole reason he started doing that was because Dusky's been trying to set himself up as a politician. So Dusky posts videos all the time on Facebook and ends all of his videos with I'm Everett Dusky and I approve this message.
And so he's making fun of Everett
So
Dusky.
Casey has been doing that to make fun of Everett Dusky. So now Everett Dusky, to get back at him for posting a Mensa photo, has made ricin, has put it in an envelope, has sent it to President Barack Obama, and then tried to frame Casey for sending ricin to the president.
He's like, this guy annoys me enough that I'm going to kill the president.
I can't think of any feud in my life that is aggressive enough that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get you sent to prison for life for trying to assassinate a president.
Yeah. And I'm not only am I going to make it
look
look
like
you did it, I'm going to attempt to do it.
If this podcast ever ends, I will frame you for the president. I will make that happen.
But
those are clips we can't use, by the way.
It's a level of insane.
We got to bleep that word.
It's a level of insane that is off the charts, like absolutely off the charts.
And so they get him. They've got evidence.
He did it.
They release Casey. They go, hey, sorry.
They're like, sorry, you were too dumb to do this. And he's like, thank you so much.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah. And so he leaves, and honestly, this whole thing like wrecked his life. And I mean, to be fair, he wrecked his life earlier, a long time before this, by getting so involved in all this stuff. But obviously this was a big deal as well. And he had a hard time after this book and his Elvis things, and so there was an impact in his life.
Now he did,
and obviously he went to prison against his will.
Give up the conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
he said, he went, you know what? I realized that being close to my wife and kids, or my ex-wife and my kids, was the most important thing to me.
Yeah,
and I put down the conspiracies and I let it all go, and I'm just living my life.
Yeah,
and 9 months later, he goes, you know what? What if Dusky was also framed? So he sends a letter to Everett Dusky in prison. This is Casey. Casey sends a letter to Dusky in prison and says, hey, Everett, I know that you were framed by somebody else, and you were framed for trying to frame me. So let's team up and find out who did this. So they're interviewing Dutchke via phone call. The documentarians are.
Yeah. And
they're like, hey, what do you think about this? Casey says that you got set up. He goes, I did get set up, but it's very clear that Paul Kevin Curtis had nothing to do with it. And Paul Kevin Curtis is like, hey, Everett Dusky, I know that you were framed trying to frame me. And it cuts back to Dusky's being like, I cannot overstate that Paul Kevin Curtis has nothing to, like, even they're feuding and they're, Everett Dusky is now claiming that he was framed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that Casey has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Casey's
That's
not
how
involved.
warped and broken your brain gets when you follow down the 4chan hole.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So this is all to say,
don't click that link.
We've got an episode about MK Ultra. We got an episode about the Montauk Project. We have an episode about Operation Paperclip. We have an episode about we have so many gateway drugs for you that you can get started ruining your life today.
Yeah. And why don't you click that support button while you're at it? Support us
right.
on Patreon.
WeSellDeadPeople.com. Is We Sell Dead People available?
Well, let's find out. It's a good place to end it.
Oh, sure. Just fiddle it off there. That works. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode. If you liked it, we did an episode about Alex Jones, another crazy guy who kind of fell down the pipeline and, did a lot of really messed up stuff because of it. So if you like learning about how this guy got messed up from falling down a crazy pipeline, maybe look at the guy who invented the pipeline, Alex Jones. But hey, if you like this episode, we've got a whole back catalog of 200 some odd episodes. You can check those out. Or if you want to see next week's episode right now, you can do that by becoming a supporter. You can go to WeSellDeadPeople.com to support this show. And that helps us out. Our supporters, they get all sorts of perks. They get episodes ad-free and a week early. They get merch discounts. They get Discord with our hosts and our producers, monthly hangout with us on Discord. It's super fun. There's a lot of great perks. It's definitely worth it. Oh, we even send you a little birthday message. It's kind of fun. Who knows if we send it on your birthday, but we'll send it to you. And lots of other great stuff. So make sure you support us. And hey, this show is an Evergreen podcast. If you want to check out more about Evergreen, you can go to evergreenpodcasts.com. We really appreciate everything that they do for us. And we'll see you next week on Things I Learned Last Night.